Alright, hey everyone, what's going on? I'm just going to be doing a quick comparison between a random Week 1 Stage 1 VOD of Overwatch League and compare it to the Grand Finals of OGN Season 3 in Apex, which was Kangdu versus Lunatic Eye. Super hype match, many people consider it to be one of the best matches of Overwatch of all time. We're just going to compare the spectating of the Owl match versus the spectating of the OGN APEX match. And yeah, we'll just do a little side by side, see what's different, see what's changed, maybe what's better, what's worse. I'm doing this because I think that in general, Overwatch League spectating was not as bad as people remember it to be. I think it was actually pretty on par with like Apex's spectating, and in some ways I think it was better. And I chose Stage 1 because many people consider it to be the worst. I think in general most people consider Stage 1 to be the worst spectating. Some people I know think that it was worst in Stage 4 or Stage 3. That's more of a minority opinion though, so I'm going to focus on Stage 1. Personally, I've seen probably, I reviewed maybe like 10-12 maps from different stages, and to be quite honest, I think there actually isn't that big of a difference between each stage. I think Stage 3 maybe was the worst just because it was like a weird chaotic meta, and I think the spectators were slow at adapting to it. So I think Stage 3 was maybe the worst. By Stage 4, I think it was fine again. It was absolutely okay, but Stage 1, most people consider it to be worst. I would recommend reviewing all the stages, just like one map from each stage. Doesn't matter which map, just one map. Anyways, I'm going to be comparing this one to the OGN Season 3 Apex Finals. So let's get started and go. So right away, we're in free cam. This is not the greatest free cam because we don't really see that much. We see this initial, let's go back. All right, so if we go back a little bit further. All right, so we see where these three guys are set up. I think maybe if we go back even a little bit further. Okay, yeah. So we get a nice pan. So we actually see the entirety of the defense. The point of free cam before the game begins is just to see where the defense is setting up. This is kind of a more cinematic approach to free cam, which is fine. We get a good view of all the defense. Right before it starts, it switches to free cam right in front of the gates. Really nice, really cool. This is just one thing to mention. Right away, Birdring has no targets coming out of the gate because of where Florida Mayhem is positioned. If there was a Widowmaker on Florida Mayhem who was posted up like right over in this corner over here, I don't know if you can see where I'm like over here somewhere, you would want to immediately switch to Birdring's point of view because that kind of initial Widow peek is going to be important. But that's not the case here, so this free cam is totally fine. It sees what's happening. Gesture does a little quick check up top. Now, we don't see that. Maybe it would be nice. It really doesn't matter. No one's going to die. No one's going to be taking a fight. It's just a little check. So whatever. Now we switch to Birdring as he's going up here. This is big. This is a good switch to Birdring's point of view because Tivik is waiting there for that initial hook. And so the observers catch that. That's nice. They stick on to Birdring as he's peeking Logics. They just want to see if they can get that nice, that nice little duel there. And then Birdring goes back to switch, so they go back to free cam. And then now they switch to Fury as he's boosting forward to protect his teammates. This is great. We're getting a nice holistic view of the team fight. We're seeing what's happening. Oh no, look, Swoosh is boosted in the backline, and now they switch to Gesture as he counter dives, or not counter dives, but retreats and regroups with his team. Sweet, this is nice. I'm way on top of this. This is maybe where I think the first kind of big mistake happens. They switch to Birdring instead of Gesture when I think getting a view of Gesture would actually have been more important for this particular stage. Just because that upper fight is kind of important, and the fact that Gesture gets forced off is also big. So you could have switched to either Logics or you could have switched to Gesture, I think, and you would have been super golden here. And then you could have switched to Birdring afterwards, if you need to, because it looks like, oh hey, he's kind of just poking around here, going on a little bit of a flank. Nice, nice. They see Gesture. Oh, and now Prophet's ulting, so we switch to there, and boom. See a nice kill. We see him dash through Diva. Cool, forces the thing. Now Genji's kind of out of the fight. Alright, so this is maybe another mistake. Oh my gosh, why didn't it pause? My space key is broken. Alright, so Prophet's out of the fight right here. You could go switch to Fury right here. You could switch to, I think that's Swoosh. And that would give you a nice little view. But as it is, we just kind of watch Prophet as he's dinking around here. And you lose maybe like 2 seconds of action. Once Prophet oh my gosh, my space key is not pausing. I don't want, that's super frustrating. So if we go back just like a little bit more. Alright, so yeah, we lose like, I think that's like 5 seconds of action as Prophet's making his way around. Is that the worst thing in the world? No, but it's slightly annoying. Now the trance goes, and we're still on Prophet. This isn't bad. We still don't really see what's going on. I mean, everyone else is kind of dead, so there's not really anyone to spectate. You can go to like Swoosh or Manitin and start cleaning up here. Really, we still get the same view of the fight either way. Switch to Birdring as he's going around the side. He's almost got his pulse bomb. He's kind of on a flank. This is great. We have a good view of what's happening, and now he's backed off. He's going on a little flanky flank, maybe. Alright, so they stick on Birdring maybe like a second too long there. Then they switch to free cam. This is a great free cam because it gives us positions of all the defense. It shows us Prophet and Fury on the cart, and it also shows where the Mercy and Gesture are on London Spitfire. Great free cam. As soon as something happens though, we need to switch, and look, Gesture goes in, and they switch to Zupa as he boosts Swoosh. This is great spectating right here. Like, this gives us a clear view of what's happening in the fight. He goes on to Doshin, pops his Primal, and then Fury comes in and completely, like, makes his life hard. I don't know what I was trying to say. I'm not a caster. Anyways, still on Swoosh, blah, blah, blah. We'll just keep going until this team fight ends, and I think we'll cut the clip here. And, oh my gosh, now Prophet ults, and they switch right to him. They see him get 1 kill. 2 kills. That's like a 3k for Prophet, and then the cleanup. All right, there we go. We got a nice view of that team fight. We saw exactly what was happening. We saw the initial boost onto Swoosh. We saw the regroup from London Spitfire. We saw the counter dive come in, and then they switched to Prophet as he ults and gets a 3k. That's just solid spectating. There may be like 2 or 3 big mistakes in that entire clip. That was like the first 3 minutes of the game. You can go ahead and like look that up, watch the rest of the game. I'm not like cutting things out that make Overwatch look bad or anything. Like, just go watch it and you'll see that's just solid spectating. Now let's go to Apex because like, I mean, it's one thing to have solid spectating in Overwatch League, but if Apex was like this godlike spectating and Overwatch League is only like solid, I mean, you want the best of the best for whatever. So before we begin, let's go back a little bit, cause alright. So one thing is, we're 23 seconds before the match begins, and we're first person on Rascal as he's spraying around. It's a little disappointing because, like, you just go free cam. Like, honestly, when at this point in the game, you just go free cam. There's no point in being first person on anyone. So you just go, like, right now is when you really want to be free cam because Kongdu Panthera is setting up, like, in the spaces they want to be in for when Lunatic High comes in. Like, when Lunatic High goes onto the bridge, Kongdu Panthera is set up in a spot right now where they can make something happen, and we don't see any of that setup because they're first person on just random people from Lunatic High. Is that a huge deal? I don't think in general it's a big deal, but this is the grand final of Apex. You know, like, I expect a little bit better from this. And this is something that Owl is really good at. Owl is really good at giving you those free cam views before the match begins that show you where everybody is set up, and that really does help give you context for when things happen in the game. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people criticized Overwatch League for that they really didn't deserve. The free cam use in Overwatch League was really good. Like, it was genuinely very good. And Apex did not make use of free cam in the same way, and they did not do it as well as Overwatch League until Overwatch League started, and Apex actually borrowed, or like the Korean contenders borrowed techniques from Overwatch League for their free cam. And you should go ahead and compare, like, so yeah, I'm just gonna say that right there. But anyways, right away we're on Guido. This is actually great, because Guido's gonna be flanking around, because like the way Tracers play at this time is, they kind of go on these long flanks, and then, you know, you come at two different angles. You take a team fight from two different angles, and so going on to Guido as he's flanking is great. This free cam is kind of like, I think this is an okay time to free cam, because you have half the team going this way and half the team going this way. So if you want to kind of get a holistic view of what's happening, you kind of need to go free cam right now. The problem is your free cam doesn't actually show anything. First off, the defense of Kungdu is posted up all the way over here off screen. All we see is Void hanging out in the little building, and he's behind a wall. And then we don't see Guido, and we just barely see Eska before he goes off screen. But oh look, now we switch to Eska. Cool. And as soon as he backs out, they switch to Guido again. This is fine. Dive happens, good spectating because you see the action, what's happening, and Guido's killing people. It's a little disorienting to stick on Tracer because Guido's just got a weird aiming style where he's just kind of like, his mouse is all over the place, but you know, that's just kind of whatever. You just kind of have to deal with these things sometimes. Switch to Eska as he hacks Ana. Awesome, that's great. The thing is, I don't actually think you should stick on Sombra once the hack is down, because Sombra doesn't really do damage. She's kind of boring to watch once the hack is through. I think you just switch to Guido, or you switch to Birdring at this point. Or you can switch to Fissure as he goes in and dives. Who is that? Jaehong? Yeah, Fissure dives and kills Jaehong. But they switched to Miro because Fissure dies. And now you see Lunatic High pushing forward, taking the point. See Miro pushing on to whatever, doing his thing. I mean, I'd probably just stick on Miro at this point. It doesn't really matter that much. But like, this free cam shows us nothing of what's happening. It's kind of boring. Action's happening, but we don't really have a good view because the cart's blocking that doorway. They do switch to Guido though, and that's fine. Like, that's good. Switch back to Lunatic High as they take the point. This is solid.
We saw Jaehong deal with Fissure at first, hit the Zenyatta, discording at the beginning. We saw him focus down there by Eska and Guido. As soon as he was gone, he was willing to make the switch to Soldier.
We got two Sombra ultimates coming up. At this point, basically how the teams are going to engage is they're going to start in with an EMP somewhere. So I think what you do at this point is you pretty much just stick on Sombra until one of them EMPs, and then you switch to an interesting DPS or a tank. Oh, and Rascal gets a hack. That's really exciting. That's cool. Nice spectating. I appreciate that. Switch to Eska as he's getting chased down and killed. Not bad. Might have been better to go to Fissure or Birdring, but you know, it is what it is. Now they're on Birdring. Birdring is going all flanky flank, trying to get Toby. And oh my gosh, Guido gets a kill off screen. Oh no, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Except, like, this is the kind of thing that people criticized Overwatch League for all the time. But the thing is, like, Birdring is doing something interesting right now. He's going around the back to try and one-clip Toby. You can't just switch off Birdring just because, like, this is an interesting thing that's happening. And, like, yes, it would be really cool to capture Guido's double kill pulse bomb, but, like, you don't know what the players are doing. And when you only have so many resources, you can only track so many players at a time. Now, like, Guido getting that kill off screen is just unlucky. Like, you can't predict that's going to happen. And so they're going on to Birdring, who they think is about to make a play. Oh, wow, Guido just made a play off screen that we had no time to react to and like, switch to his point of view. It's unfortunate, but it's just one of the things that happens when you're spectating. And then Birdring keeps going on his little flanky flank and kills Waka Waka, or not Waka, Toby. He kills Toby. Birdring gets hacked and killed. Awesome.
So much resources to kill Toby, unfortunately,
they go free cam. This is a really good free cam, actually. I think this is a perfect free cam because there's a big self-destruct going on right here. You get, like, there's no, like, big individual plays that are happening. This is just cleanup right now. So you just get a cleanup is not interesting to watch in first person. And so just going to free cam gives you a nice big view of the team fight, shows you what's happening, shows all the people that are dying at the same time. Perfectly fine. And yeah, I don't know, I guess this is probably where it makes sense to stop, but my point is, I guess at this point, that people, like, just comparing this to Overwatch League, it's not that different in quality. It's actually, I would argue that it's pretty much the same, except Owl has better free cam use. And now, again, like, the way Owl spectates does change throughout the stages, and I do think there was worse performance in general from the spectators in Stage 3 of Overwatch League, but just as a whole, I think the average level of spectating in Overwatch League was absolutely just as good as Apex. And people will say I'm crazy, people will say that, like, you're wrong, but, like, I just watch the VODs, dude. Like, that's just it. Like, the spectating was absolutely like, the spectating wasn't just okay in Overwatch League, it was probably one of the highest quality spectatings we've seen. Because you have to, like, realize, like, Apex was the king of spectating at the time, and I'd say that Korean Contenders, even right now, is still an amazing spectating experience. If you watch T2, T3, you'd, like, know what I mean. Like, the other regions, their T2 and T3 scene, their spectating is not as good as Apex, or is not as good as Korean Contenders. And it's also not as good as Overwatch League. Like, Overwatch League is the highest quality out, like, I wanted to say, like, Overwatch League actually just is the highest quality. And people, like, I think the only reason people think it's different is because they only ever focus on the mistakes that Overwatch League makes, and they never see they never try to understand, like, what's actually happening. They never actually analyze why the spectator does what they does. And because of that, they just, like, remember, oh my gosh, Season 3 of Apex was super hype, and it must have been because the spectating was just better than Overwatch League, and Overwatch League, oh, they made, like, a couple big mistakes, and, like, I'll, you know, give an example. In the grand finals of Overwatch League, the Prophet 4K on Volskaya, that was a super hype moment that the spectators missed. That was a mistake. But, like, those happen, and, like, they happen in Apex, and people are like, no, they didn't. But yes, they actually did. Just go watch it, and you'll see the mistakes that as they happen. But some of those mistakes are just, like, unavoidable. I don't know. That's all I got for this video. I guess if I'm gonna say anything, just go watch the VODs. They speak for themselves. You don't need me to interpret it. I'm just a spectator like you guys are. But you know, if you watch the VODs and you come to a different conclusion, I would absolutely love to hear what you think. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.